Hi again, great to have you with us on Leading Edge. I'm your host, Jeff Smith. New look, new open, same great energy and same great guests. Coming up in just a bit, part two of my conversation with musician actor Rick Springfield. I got a lot of great response from our first part last week, so we'll have that coming up for you here in just a bit. But first, what does it take to build a brand? Major global corporations spend billions annually on marketing and branding. Give you some examples. Coca-Cola averages around $4 billion per year. Pepsi averages around $2.4 billion per year. Amazon spent close to $19 billion on marketing in 2019 alone. But a lot of that happens in boardrooms and in high rises in major metropolitan cities, right? Well, in the words of Lee Corso, the old Indiana football coach, not so fast, my friend. My first guest this week is all about branding. And this Swan native says she made her mark at just the right time. I want to say hello to, and have you say hello to, Brittany Gibbons, influencer, New York Times best-selling author as well, and also Chief Marketing Officer for 424 Degrees. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I said in the green room, I said, now, you've done interviews. I feel stupid asking you these questions because you've been around the area for so long. I've never had an opportunity to have you on the show, because I wanted to talk about a few of the things you're intertwined with. But first, let's talk about the books. What brought you on the scene as far as Brittany Gibbons is concerned? What had you out there? What made people take notice? And New York Times best-selling author. How's that feel on the resume?
Let's see. It feels okay. It feels okay. It's such a bucket list item to be here with you. Okay. So.
On this show?
Yes, I'm a big fan. Are you kidding me?
Goodness gracious.
Are you kidding? I'm a huge fan.
Well,
okay.
Here we go.
So here we are. No, but honestly, I started as a blogger in 2007, and I kind of just started before anybody else was really doing it in mass. So I was able to really grow really fast. I had a few million readers a month.
Okay.
And I was writing and working with brands in kind of that mommy blogger capacity.
How did you get the word? I mean, you blog. What site did you find? How were people finding you? I mean, go from the very beginning.
Yeah, I was blogging on just like a WordPress site. It was something I built myself. And then I would post on Facebook, and
but even
would just share
WordPress was available in 2007.
It was.
Okay.
It was. And I would share just, hey, I wrote today on Facebook, and people would share it. And I actually have a really strong memory of going into my dentist's office, and the woman who I was paying the bill, and I saw one of my blog posts on her wall. Like, she printed it out and like stuck it to her wall. And I was like, that's me.
Did she put, I mean, did she put two and two together?
She had no idea.
Yeah.
No, but she thought it resonated, and I wrote just about being a woman, and I was funny, but also really honest and sometimes a little bit messy.
Yeah.
And I think women just really related to that.
How did that go into, how did that go into HarperCollins and books and being able to get deals?
Well, I was noticed a lot by magazines and news sources, so I ended up going on Good Morning America a lot and the Today Show a lot, talking about timely pieces that I was writing.
You stood outside the window at GMA, I was reading in your bio.
I did.
Yeah.
I showed up to Good Morning America in a bathing suit and stood outside that window until they paid attention to me, just to get women comfortable.
Did NYPD try to move you off?
They thought I was fabulous.
Okay.
No, everybody was a fan. And I did that for
Was there a method to your madness being in a bikini at that time?
I think there was. I really just wanted to be provocative and get people's attention and get the word out to women that I'm a girl's girl and I'm a friend, and I understand how hard it is to be a woman in these bodies and in this world, and that was always kind of my underlying message in a snarky, humorous way. And so that's how I ended up in front of that window, and I was there the first year, and they invited me in every year after that. So I just kept going back.
I want to talk to you a little bit about something you've been tasked with, and
Sure.
I do want to dive into the books as well, but I want to talk specifically locally about Party in the Park, because that is something that has been resurrected. We wanted to show some video to our audience there at home. You may have seen it. This is from 1988. Brittany, this is the Party in the Park I remember, right? Friends and family, we came down to Portside, we made our way across the river, or just further down the river past the burnout steam plant, right? Yeah. And then you made your way to this concert venue, the huge lawn, and of course vendors there selling whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are trying to tap into.
We are. We really just want to get people excited to come back downtown. You know, it's a safe, it's a fun place. We're super excited about it. We want people to stay after work. We want them to bring their families back down here. I've brought my kids every weekend so far.
Yeah.
It's a blast, and we want people to be excited about everything we're doing in Toledo again.
How old are the kids?
My kids are 16, 18, and 19.
Okay, so still kind of taking everything in, but
Yeah.
not so much, this is stupid, Mom.
No.
Yeah.
And we have all ages of kids there every week. There's
Yeah.
little ones, there's big ones. They're having a blast.
Yeah. You've been tasked with how do you get the word out to make sure, and you and I were talking a little bit about this, trying to make that Friday night the starting point for everybody's weekend.
Yeah. To be honest, it wasn't that hard of an undertaking. It turns out people are really excited to
Yeah.
have something to do locally.
Connect
So,
Toledo, obviously
Connect
being
Toledo
tasked with this.
424 Degrees have sort of taken
Gotta
on.
mention Cheryl Hardy.
Yep, and Cheryl Hardy, who's
Yeah.
a rock star in Toledo. We've just sort of taken this on to really market it and spread the word that this is a really cool event. And it takes really no work at all because it is a cool event. And so the first week we showed up with cameras to create some FOMO, and we certainly did. And now everybody's excited to attend. You know, this weekend's going to be a blast.
All right, for our viewers who are 60 plus, even in my age range, 50 plus, who
Okay.
don't know what FOMO means.
Fear of missing out.
Okay, fear of missing out. So we've
My whole job is FOMO. I create it in different capacities.
let's talk about the books,
Sure.
specifically book 1, book 2. Start with book 1. What did you set? What was your goal there, and how does it become a New York Times bestseller?
So I wrote my first book, Fat Girl Walking, and it's really just a funny memoir about growing up. I grew up in Swanton. I'm from the area, and it's talking about my life as a kid. I was a plus size kid. I was a plus size adult, and having all those conversations and navigating marriage and motherhood and all of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be a New York Times bestseller, but it turns out lots of people needed to read that. And they did.
What kind of, I guess, blueprint were you going off of to put that book together?
Yeah.
I mean, when you sign a book deal, do they help you through the process, or was this is my life, I'm laying it out, here it is?
Yeah, so they approached me, I was walking off actually the Today Show set. I'd just done a segment there, and they approached me, they said, would you ever write a book? I said, all I've ever wanted to do was write a book. Finally, somebody's listening to me. And so I got an agent right away, and multiple houses bid on the book. HarperCollins won it.
Yeah.
And then I did a lot of Googling how to write book.
Because AI didn't
I
exist
didn't
yet.
know. No AI.
Yeah.
So I Googled it a lot, and it turns out my editor, I shared an editor with Amy Poehler, and she connected me with her,
Yeah.
and she told me how she wrote her book.
Really?
Yeah, and was a huge help.
How about that?
Yeah, so kind of a cool journey.
Can you stay around for another segment?
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay, stick around. When we come back, I want to talk more about becoming an influencer
Ooh,
and
yes.
what it goes into that and how much you should and shouldn't share. Stay with us. We're back with Brittany Gibbons right after this. Welcome back here on Leading Edge, author, influencer, chief marketing officer for 424 Degrees, or do you say 424?
424.
Okay, there we go. Brittany Gibbons is joining us. I wanted to take our second segment and kind of give it a little bit of a how-to feel for people who are watching out there, because
it.
we can I'll post things on X, Twitter, and I'll think it's the most clever thing ever put on the face of the earth, and it'll get blips, just absolutely nothing. So what is there to social media? How do you know you're making a dent? How do you make that dent?
There really is just a consistency to it. Even when you feel like you're screaming into a void, you just have to keep posting. And at the end of the day, if you can show up in a very authentic way,
But you said you don't post every day.
Well, I should post every day.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, because I'm so busy.
But
the
is
park
that
in the park.
But is that what you're saying though? Consistency.
Yes,
You have to be there every day.
I would say at least 3 times a week you should be putting up content. And just share what you're feeling, share what you're going through, especially like the hard and messy things that you're kind of afraid to share. You'd be surprised. That's what people want to connect with the most.
But is that easier said than done, especially, let's say you work in corporate world, you have bosses who you're worried about seeing certain things. As a mom, right, you had a little bit of freedom. Is that fair?
A little bit. I guess that's kind of true. But I think at the end of the day, if this is really what you want to do.
Because you don't delve into politics.
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Sometimes, not all the time.
All
Not
right.
all the time. It's not my main bread and butter.
I
but
gotcha.
I'll tap dance there. However, yeah, politics is hard, especially if you're a business owner. All of those things are hard, and I don't recommend diving too much into that. But
Yeah.
there's other authentic parts of your life that you can talk about. I have people come up to me and they say, how can you write about this, when you and look at your parents, and I never think about I don't even think about my town when I'm writing, because it would be paralyzing. I have to think about a more larger audience and just hope that I'm throwing something at them they want to catch.
You don't get too nailed down to specifics.
I don't zoom in too much, because then it'd be terrifying. I thought about my dad reading everything I put on the internet. Oh my gosh, I would never write anything.
Your husband, you guys have been together since high school.
Yes.
When does he pull the reins back, if ever?
Oh, I think he wishes more, but I outnumber.
Wishes you said more, or wishes?
Wishes I'd dial in more. I've gotten calmer as I've aged. I was a little bit too provocative early on, but he's always been a really good sport about it. But now I have teens and he's getting a little bit older, so I am a little bit more considerate of what I put online.
We've got about 2 minutes left. As you go forward with marketing and branding, what is the most important thing that you tell clients maybe to build your own brand?
Honestly, it's just finding your voice, putting it in your name, and showing up and putting it out there. Like, I don't think anything should be anonymous. I think you should own what you're doing and start building. I think everybody should have a brand. Everybody should have something that they're known for and they can stand 10 toes down in, and it's exciting.
My next guest is Rick Springfield.
Who?
Rick Springfield. And you are helping right now with the I Love or I Want My 80s concert tour that's making a stop at the Toledo Zoo. How did they find you to get the word out? Because you also told me you've had some major names who have reached out and said, can you help us?
Yeah, influencer work is really fun. It's getting a chance to connect with brands, both national and local, and like telling people who follow me why I think they're awesome. I have a really cool job that I just get to talk about things I love, and music is one of those things. So Live Nation approached 424 Degrees. We have a brand new influencer house where we're connecting local influencers doing local things. And so I get to work in that capacity at the entire summer at the zoo. I mean, you could have a harder life right now.
Yeah. You have a favorite Wang Chung song?
I do.
I put you on the spot.
I do, all of them. They're all tattooed on my back, actually.
Everybody have fun tonight. Everybody Wang Chung tonight. So you do know that one.
I do.
30 seconds. I know there was one thing that I said. If you haven't been asked one question in all the time you've been doing interviews, what was that? You walked away from an interview and said, daggone it, I didn't get to talk about this.
That I didn't get to talk about it. Honestly, I just didn't get to talk enough about how much I don't know. I tell everything. There's no secrets for me on the internet.
Where can people find the books?
They can find them actually anywhere. Amazon, any bookseller has them.
Yeah.
Please buy them.
And Instagram?
Instagram, I'm on at the Brittany Gibbons. Same with TikTok and Facebook, and I'm not really on X anymore, but
we won't talk about that.
We won't talk about that.
Brittany, it's a pleasure.
Thanks for
Continued
having
good
me.
luck and great work. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you. Stay there. We'll finish up with Rick Springfield. Who? Right after this. Welcome back. One segment just wasn't enough. Here is the rest of our conversation with musician and actor Rick Springfield, and I asked him what he sees in the crowds these days.
I see happiness, which is amazing. My job is, I think I heard Tom Petty say this, that his job is to give people, a release from the crap that they think about 24/7, go to a concert and suddenly it's all gone. And it's all gone for me too once I get up on stage. I have my own, monkeys in my head. So that I see that out there, and it's a very powerful feeling that you see someone beaming, that if you see people on the road, you see people in cars, and you go, well, guy's not even, he looks like he's totally depressed. He's not smiling. But out there, everyone is having a great time. Hopefully everyone's having a great time. And I pick up on that. And that's where I get my energy to play too from that.
As far as the ages, you see all over the spectrum?
Yeah. People bring their, parents brought their kids. Kids are now bringing their kids. So, and then there's the old guard that we call hardcores, that have been there from the beginning, which is amazing to me.
I'm interested your view of songs like "Affair of the Heart" popping up on a rock stream, but then "Don't Talk to Strangers" coming up on yacht rock. I mean, it's kind of
yacht rock. Oh,
it covers the gamut, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, now they're splitting everything up, you know. I mean, I have uh, I look at sometimes I'll look at an album on like iTunes or whatever, and they talk about it and they say, you know, this is a hard rock album, and you know has so, and they would never have assumed that I would have anything called a hard rock album back in the '80s. So I just write what I love. I mean, I've just written something now that's pretty heavy, and that's what I'm a guitar player, and I love that kind of music. So I just write what I love. And, you know, I'm not trying to write singles necessarily, though. If we all hope that there's something that'll catch. I mean, I heard even Ringo was saying, yeah, well, we always hope for one more, you know. So we're never satisfied, basically.
Sammy Hagar and you not only share a song, obviously going back to 1978's I've Done Everything for You, which you then sung in the 80s, but you guys also have a line of rum.
Yeah, yeah. Sammy and I have a beach bar rum together, and it's amazing. And my favorite is Cola Spice. And if you want a great drink, if I may do a little ad here, it's Cola Spice out of the freezer, straight. It's Bacardi and Coke on steroids. It's amazing.
How did the friendship develop?
Well, from you know, he wrote "I've Done Everything for You." It's the only song, only one of the songs I had hits I had that I didn't write, and it was brought to me, and I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it," because it was a big producer, a big '80s producer had brought it to me, and he picked Jesse's Girl out of my demos and said, "I want to bring in another song," and so I did it, and it became a hit, and I think you know it was the biggest hit at the time Sammy had had, and and so we became, you know, friends there. He helped me with lights and sound to get on the road, and he was very helpful. And we just stayed in touch all through the years. And I remember when I was backstage somewhere, and he's walking by when he was in Van Halen. He's walking by to the stage with him. He says, "Hey, Rick, you need another hit song?" I said, "I'm fine, man. Thanks." But we've had this kind of, you know, uh, funny relationship. Well, and then during COVID, he called me up and said, "I hear you want to get in the alcohol business. I'd rather have you as a partner than a competitor. So would you want to do this?" And it was seemed natural. You know, we both had the music thing in common. We both, you know, love good booze, and it was fun. We've done a couple of shows together and promotions and stuff for it, and it's I think it's a lot of fun to do that. And you know, I've always wanted to. I mean, anyone who's got a name wants to put it on alcohol, but it's been a lot of a great journey. I've enjoyed it a lot.
I know we're coming up on our time. You've talked about Elvis, the influence there, starstruck moments for you over the years. Who have you really kind of drawn in on from a musical standpoint? And did you ever meet one of your idols?
Yeah, I have actually. I always be careful with meeting your idols because I don't rush to meet them, you know. But I did meet Elvis, and he was a great guy. Paul McCartney, the Beatles, of course, were you know the major influence. And I met Paul a couple of times, and I met Ringo, and they're all good people, you know. I've heard horror stories of people meeting other people and just being devastated that they were jerks to them, and I don't understand that. Why would somebody do that? They must have incredible lack of self-worth to hurt somebody like that. Who I had a keyboard player friend who was a big fan of a very famous, I won't mention him, very famous keyboard player. And he went up to him, met him. He said, "Oh man, I think you're so great. I just love your work." And the guy went, "Ooh," and walked away. And it was like, why? What's the point of that? You know? So I was very fortunate. I've been very fortunate in the people that I've really loved, who really inspired me, that they're cool people, you know.
That's
Certainly
awesome.
Paul's one of the coolest of them all. He's just such a great human being.
I can't let you go without asking about the phaser guns behind you.
Yeah, if aliens come here, babe. I've got all the guns to kill them all. These are all ray guns.
Are you a collector? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I love sci-fi. I especially love 50s sci-fi. And there's a company called Weta, a New Zealand company that made all the weapons for District 9 and for Lord of the Rings. And there's one guy called Greg Broadmoor who I see, I email with occasionally, that and made limited editions of these guns. And here, check, don't go away. Check this one out. This is a masterpiece,
My goodness.
right?
And
And so,
that baby's authentic.
yeah, it's pretty wild. He's got a great imagination, and he takes them from from versions of the 50s guns. These are all kind of recognizable from certain guns in the 50s, from Dan Dare and all those.
Yeah.
All those.
Yeah.
But I love sci-fi, and it was I have a lot of sci-fi stuff. This is almost a steampunk studio, really, is what it is.
It's fantastic, and I couldn't let you go without asking about it. Rick, you sound great, you look great, and from a fan standpoint, I just got to say thank you because your music, and I think you understand how music can bring people together, and it's something that I've been able to share with family members. That moment I talked about listening to Affair in the Heart back in the 80s, it created bonds that have not gone away. We still chat about things like that.
Yeah, music's very powerful, and I think everybody really understands that. There's nothing like it. It touches part of your brain nothing else touches, and stays there. It's the only real time travel available is a song.
It's fantastic. June 29th, Toledo Zoo Amphitheater. This is going to be a great show, and we appreciate all the memories that you're bringing to Toledo.
Thank you. We will take you back.
The I Want My 80s concert tour hits the Toledo Zoo Amphitheater June 29th with Wang Chung, Paul Young, John Waite, and John Cafferty, plus Rick Springfield. We're back after this. If you missed any part of our conversations, you can find Leading Edge on WTOL 11 Plus, the WTOL 11 YouTube page, and where you find your podcast. Hope to see you next time here on Leading Edge.